Yes, everyone, welcome to this week's Patreon podcast. Again, thank you guys for your continued support. I'm going to do it like this time with the questions actually on screen so you can see what I'm reading. Unfortunately, Jack did send a video, but if I click on it, it throws this camera off because it tries to, like, the way the screen recording works, it tries to play it over on that computer over there. Unfortunately, I can't play it. It's basically Jack spooning a shot. So, nice one, Jack. Anyway, let's get struck into this. So Clayton says, did Jose cost Marshall a World Cup winners medal? Yeah, I think it's probably safe to say that he did. Maybe even he would have gone if it would have been but for Sanchez signing. I wonder, did Sanchez signing cost him it more than anything else? I think he might have done. Stu says, how much wear are you getting from your young shirt? Not enough, probably. Maybe I'll wear it Sunday. Any news on whether Marshall and Lingard will be back for Liverpool? Now, obviously, I'm a little closer to one of them, and I believe he's fit. Whether he's fit for selection is another thing, though, and that's obviously up to Solskjaer, and that's something I don't have information on. But I think he will be available, so fingers crossed. Do you think the single fan favourite player... Who do I think the single fan favourite player is at the moment? Pogba, Herrera, Dave, Marcus. Ooh, I don't know, you know. I think... It's not my opinion, but I know there's a lot of people that are still not quite taken by Pogba. Some people still wanted to cuss him out a little bit because of what happened under Mourinho, like it was his fault. Clearly, Pogba's shown what he's all about since Solskjaer's come in, and I think that's absolutely wicked. Herrera's kind of always been a bit of a cult hero-ish at United. I think people are starting to really figure out his quality, and I think that's a good thing. Dave is the best goalkeeper in the world. If you don't like him, I don't know what you do about that. And Marcus is becoming a bit more of a fan favourite as well. I never understood the grief Marcus got. The numbers he's put up, comparable with Terry Henry and Ronaldo, but people are like, he's not good enough to play for United. All right, mate. I think Marcus is going to probably find another gear soon as well, and I can't wait to see what happens when he does. Ant says, how are you coping with the studio overheads doubling, and what are my plans going forward? Well, do you know what? Not that well, if I'm being completely honest. As it stands, I've probably gone 2 months without any kind of pay at all. Because all I am sort of doing, and all the current deals that we've got, they're basically going to pay the rent and pay the lads. So I do need a deal to come in soon. There are a lot of deals that are being spoken about, and I'm getting a couple of lads in here to start really focusing on sales to try and bring deals in, because it's not something I ever really did. It's not something I ever really focused on. It's not something I ever really spent a long time thinking about. And it was when I was at XS Manchester the other day, and I think they have somewhere in the region of 8 to 10 full-time sales staff, and I can't remember who said it, but someone said you probably do more a month in views than they do, and they've got this enormous big concrete fancy glass studio with loads of these really expensively kitted out radio studios, and I was like, you might be right. I might do more views or listens than they do over the course of a month, but the revenue that they must be putting in or getting from their channels is insane compared to what I'm getting. So I was like, maybe I need to think about that more. Now, obviously it's slightly different because I might put out 5 or 6 bits of content a week, ranging from 5 to half an hour long, whereas they're going 24/7. Obviously there's more presenters to cover for that. But fundamentally, yeah, I think I probably should be performing better commercially than I am, because I've never really spent any length of time majorly thinking about it. So I have got a couple of lads at the moment writing out scripts, put together a bit of a media kit, and to try and bring some sponsorship in. There is a relatively big deal that I am talking to people about. If that comes in, oh, that's absolutely fantastic, but I think the chances of that actually landing, certainly before the end of the season, I think are very, very slim. Plans going forward, basically just continue as I'm doing. Hopefully the sportsmen are going to come and hire half of the studio, because they're looking for a place to call their own and somewhere that they can decorate, and that they currently use a pub. So there's space in here available. Obviously I was working in here, half in here, so there is the place available in here for them if they want to do that. Hopefully they take that. That's going to massively ease the pressure. It's just then landing something commercial wise and we can move forward from that. I would like to make, like, we've currently got like 6 or 7 lads working here part-time. I would like to make at least a couple of them full-time come the summer, and bring in more interns and things like that, because I've been really impressed with the internships that we've had from people, and the work rate people have put in has been phenomenal. Pretty much all the ones from the summer got given a part-time job. There was only a couple that we got rid of because they were so good, and that wasn't the initial plan. They changed our plans by being so good, and we saw the benefit of having them. When we ran the internship projects, we didn't just think, oh, free labour, sweet. We thought, here's a chance for us to get some real work done during the World Cup, and we'll probably find 1 or 2 that are worthy of probably keeping on as some sort of an assistant. But people told us horror stories about them, and you're like, oh, you're going to have to spend so long teaching them this and so long teaching them that. And it wasn't the case, and the interns made us better, and I hope you guys can see the quality that's gone up. If you just look back 12 months ago on the channel to the sort of things that we're putting out now, I wouldn't even dream of putting stuff out to what we put out previously. So hopefully you do notice the content going up. There are more plans, like I want to add a second one of these cameras. That'll give us 2 angles when we're doing a podcast or we're doing a review, and even though you might not really notice it, because it's changing that angle every now and then, it does really add to the quality of stuff. So I do want to get a second one of these cameras. Of course, equipment's fucking well expensive, but in terms of like, my plans are going to be predicated on where we go commercially, because everything has a cost associated with it. If I get even a fairly low-level commercial deal in, I still think I can make people probably full-time. It's only minimum wage, but it's full-time come the summer, when the lads that we've got are starting to finish uni. And I think that's going to see a real improvement in the output of what we can do as a channel for the start of next season and the stuff in the summer. Obviously, the baby being born has clipped my wings a little bit in terms of some of the foreign trips, both in terms of cost and in terms of just not being able to just leave Janine and the baby. So I'm hoping starting next season to go and do some more trips. I love the foreign trips. I really want to hit up Argentina, and I want to make a mini documentary while I'm there. I want to do more documentary type stuff. I am actually thinking of doing something for D-Day. It's the 75th anniversary of D-Day. This year, well, 5 months, 3 months, 4 months. So I would like to maybe go to Normandy. Let me know in the comments. Do you want to see something like that? Is that the sort of thing that you guys would like for me to go and do? I'm thinking Arnhem and D-Day, or one or the other. Obviously, with my military background, they're massive days, and something I really want to do something for. Clemens, have I found anything about Greenwood's injury? Can't await his debut. No, I haven't found anything out about Greenwood's injury, actually. Donna, would I shave my beard for charity? Maybe. Not ruling it out completely. But I was thinking yesterday, I had my hair done yesterday and my beard trimmed, and I was thinking, I wonder when I will go without a beard. Because it's going to be at some point I'm going to shave it. I don't know when that's going to be. Like, it doesn't actually get any longer. Literally, the barber was saying this was yesterday. All he ever does is sort of like trims the scraggly hairs away. It doesn't get any longer. It just sort of stays there. If anyone watches Fast and Loud, I'm never going to get one of them Aaron Kaufman ones, even though I wouldn't mind seeing what it looks like for a little bit. But to be honest, much more length on it than this. I get it in fucking cereal and soup and all sorts of stuff, and forever cleaning it. It's minging. Matthew, what's your opinion on the effect social media has had on our society, and how do you think it'll impact in the future? Will we all end up lifeless, comatose zombies? Social media has definitely had an enormous effect. And obviously, I've got 2 children. One's on social media, one's 5 weeks old. It's not an impact on her life in the slightest. But I do worry about what the impact of social media is, because anonymous dickheads on the internet, they can have an impact. They can have an enormous impact. And they can really fucking make or break your day at times as well. Certain platforms are better than others. There's the meme in there of like, don't read YouTube comments. I don't find that. There's the occasional dickhead in my YouTube comments. Most people in there are having fairly decent discussion. And to be fair, Discord is social media. And the chat in there, for the most part, is fairly level-headed. with a little bit of humour behind it, which I think is replicant of what you might have got in a pub 15 years ago. There might be the occasional dickhead in there, but for the most part, people are pretty friendly. I think that you probably find when you, like, I've kind of built this little community like you guys, I think because my general demeanour on videos and my way of doing stuff is a little bit more level-headed, analytical sometimes. I think that's attracted a group of people that are similarly minded, not over-the-top reactionary for the most part, and not little bitches for the most part. So I think that we've got a really good community that I enjoy interacting with, and I want to keep that going. And I think you can always find that. There's always going to be a percentage of knobs in any sort of group of people, but I think that you have to niche down almost. You have to find your space within it. You can't just you can't let everybody speak to everybody the way Twitter kind of has without there going to be some problems, because there's people that are hurting in this world, that don't have direction, that don't have anything going on with their lives, and they just feel the need to lash out at anyone. They get jealous, they get angry, and it's just a consequence of how easy communication has become. I think there's probably going to be some sort of swing back from the open Wild West that we've had. I think people are probably going to do what we've sort of done and go to more private networks where people can chat without the trolls. I think you might see more of that sort of happening. Facebook seems to be really fostering a lot of groups where people can start talking about stuff, where it's in them groups rather than out in the open. So I think it's going to move to that sort of stuff. In terms of, like, I'm guessing you mean, like, is everyone going to be like lifeless, comatose zombies? There's that people like living on their phones. I probably on my phone too much, to be honest. He's definitely on his phone too much. But yeah, I think we could all spend more time off our phones, but they're just more interesting than what's going on in the rest of the fucking world, isn't it? And I don't know if there's any difference from when people just used to read the paper on, like, when they're commuting and stuff like that. People just bury their head in a newspaper. Now they're burying their head in a phone. I'm not sure there's a massive difference. But yeah, it can be good and it can be bad. It all depends on how you use it, I think. Ryan, is a little one letting you get more than 90 minutes of sleep a night yet? Yeah, do you know what? Last night I didn't think she was going to go to sleep. It was 1 o'clock, 1:30 before she eventually did go to sleep. But then she slept through till 5:30. And then from 5:30, well, I guess like 6:30, put her back in bed. I got another couple of hours before coming into work today. So it wasn't a terrible night. It's been bad previous nights, but she is sort of getting into a bit of a routine now, so it's getting easier. Are Axel and Timbo ready to step up and be regular players? Timbo struggled because he's not gone out on loan, and he's not gone out and I believe there's some things that he did that he fucked up on, which made Crystal Palace at least not really asked about him, and they wanted to send him back, and United was like, well, you've got him. And obviously Wan-Bissaka came through and took his position, and I don't think anyone's got a problem with that because Wan-Bissaka's quality. At Fulham, that certainly hasn't gone to plan, and this is a problem when you're a player on loan. When a club changes the manager, if the new manager doesn't fancy you, you're fucked. And you've seen that happen with a lot of young players, and it's unfortunate, but that is what happens with these young players at times. I think Axel could definitely put himself into rotation as one of the backup centre-backs. I don't think he's ready to be that first choice just yet. I haven't watched every single one of his games at Villa, but I do believe he's doing pretty well at Villa. I would love him to steal someone's place, and I think United need that experienced leader. As I think it was Ryan actually pointed out the other day in the Discord chat, Toby Alderweireld 25 million release clause should be up on us in the summer. So I hope United have just been quietly working away on that thing. I haven't heard if they have, and I will try and find out if we have, but I hope that United have been working away on that thing. If we have, then that's a great start for us, Joe. Someone at the right kind of age that isn't going to block the likes of Axel coming through. Team needs to get back into the club and find out what position he's going to be, or he needs to go out on loan somewhere, maybe like Germany, where it's a touch easier and he's definitely going to play, and then you'll see a real good player coming through. But this is a real critical age for him, and he's not playing enough. And that goes for the likes of Gomez and that as well. You've got to play at this age or you don't get to the next level. Thames said, probably won't happen, but let's say Real Madrid have an overhaul this summer and Cruz becomes available. Would I entertain signing him, or do I think it's a couple of years too late? It's definitely a couple of years too late, but I wouldn't rule it out entirely, because I do think, look how thin we are in midfield. If we did lose Ander Herrera or we did lose Matic, the panic stations we would be at, thinking, fucking hell, we're going to have to throw Pereira or Fred or McTominay in there. I think you put him into the mix and you're fine. I also do like the idea of Ruben Neves. I think you put either of those two in and you've bolstered that midfield with some quality backups and some quality players. So yeah, if he's available, I'm having it. Barbie Sean says, had you expected more of the youth to be given a chance under Ollie so far, the way he was talking about it when he first come in? Yeah. Now, I know that he moved the lockers of the lads, and he's having the likes of Chong and even Mason travel, and Jimmy Garner travel, and Angel. But I would like to see more of them on the bench. Just one of them on the bench a week wouldn't have been too much to ask, I don't think, to give us that bit of an option. Maybe he's waiting until he gets the job, but I think you've nothing to lose doing it now, in all honesty. I would like to see him do it. In order for us to win titles, what players need to go? I think it's more of who needs to come in than who needs to go. But I don't think giving Young the extension was a good idea. Not because of, obviously, the clear fucking agenda I've got against Young. My agenda's only against him because he plays regular, wears the captain's armband, he's fucking shit, and a lot of people defend him. If no one defended him, if everyone was just in agreement that he was shit, I'd have no problem with him. It's the fact that I have to defend the fact that he is shit against people who don't think he's shit, and I don't understand why people don't think he's shit. But giving him $100,000 contracts, it's not about, oh, he's this servant, he's done that, he's done this, that and the other with a club. The issue I have with giving him $100,000 a week contract is because of what that represents in the squad. You give a guy $100,000 a week contract, they're not backup. They're your first choice. You're not going to sanction, certainly the Glazers aren't going to sanction, not like what City did, the signing of another right back to play ahead of him. You're not going to sign Wan-Bissaka, give him $80,000 a week and play him in front of the guy you're paying $100,000 a week to. It's one of the issues that Sanchez, I don't think Woodward tells Solskjaer who to play, or Mourinho who to play, but I think there's a bit of a nod and a wink and a point at the balance sheet, like, what are we doing with him if we're not playing him? So I think the likes of Jones. Now, someone hit me with an interesting thought the other day, which is maybe the Glazers really are selling the club, and I haven't heard one way or another on that. So this isn't me giving a nod or a wink to anything. This is me literally just pondering out loud. I haven't heard one way or another, but the person I was talking to said maybe they're securing the assets to bump up the value of the club. Because at the start of the season, there was 9, 10, 11 players that was going to be out of contract at the end of the season. You change that, you extend those contracts. Now there's a value to those contracts, and the value of the club goes up, meaning that when you sell the club, you get more money. You go, right, that fucking makes sense. Whereas the rest of the reasoning behind why players are here, or why you've just given extensions to Young and to Jones and even Fellaini in the summer, doesn't make a lot of sense. So if that's the reason why, because they're trying to bump it up to sell it, it makes sense. If we can get rid of them, that's the issue. You're probably going to have to take a massive cut. You're probably going to have to take a completely waive a fee to let these guys go. But I think, like, you all know who the deadwood is. I think a lot of them need to go. And I think, to be honest, Sanchez and Lukaku are actually heading towards that. They might need to go. If they don't fit the style of play Ollie's trying to play, and someone out there would fit it better, or you could use the money that we've got to invest in a defender or a fullback, or maybe even strengthen midfield a little bit, then I think that's the one. And, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of talk about Josh King, and I think it's, one, because he's Norwegian, two, because he's ex-United, and I think he was in and around the same sort of class of Lingard and Pogba, which is hilarious. But also because he's a different style of forward to what we've got at the moment, and he would probably be someone that would be happy being a backup, and he's a bit older. You haven't got anyone that's... We lack experience in certain areas, and I think the experience of some of the players has really shown lately, especially the midfield. It's a very young forward line, and it's a terrible defence. I think if you can inject a little bit of quality and experience into those areas, I think that would probably be doing us for getting to the title. Fiscal Cliff says, what are your thoughts on Lukaku rumours? Think he's been treated very unfairly by lots of United fans. Seems to forget he had a very good goal return last season. He did have a great goal return last season, on not a lot of shots compared to most others in the league as well. Again, I think his conversion rate was still higher than Harry Kane. It was 1% or 0.5%, but it's a fact. He's not doing himself any favours. Like, he didn't look good coming back from the World Cup. He definitely would have benefited from a pre-season. Latterly, he looks better, but he's still not looking like the guy that we signed, and he's still not looking like the player that we saw at Everton. I think Ollie's system certainly suits the way he played at Everton a hell of a lot more than what we was asking him to do. I don't like that every time he comes on we lump it up to him, and he's actually really fucking bad with his back to goal, trying to win those headers. He's fucking shit at them. He's really not good at him. He's certainly nowhere near what Berbatov was, or even Rooney was at that level for holding the ball up like that. He's a guy that you put the ball into behind. He's a real fox in the box. People don't think that, but he is that. The style of player that he is, he's a fox in the box, and he's very explosive and very powerful. Hence the fucking thing that got clipped up out of context. Literally in the video where I said, don't clip this up out of context, and they did. He's very fast and he's very powerful. And we're not playing him. We basically didn't play him like he was that sort of player. Under Jose, we played him like the reincarnation of Didier Drogba, and he's fucking nothing like him at all, in any sense. So yeah, I think it has been unfair, but he's also not helping himself because he has been given opportunities and he hasn't taken them. I was speaking to Marcus's brother the other day about people being given opportunities, players being given opportunities, players being debuted, and this, that and the other, and we're saying like nobody took their chance when it came to them like Marcus. He grabbed it with both hands and didn't let it go. Scored 2 goals, followed it up with 2 goals, followed it up with more goals, followed it up with a worldie against West Ham, followed it up by retiring Dylan Michaelis in a Manchester derby. He scored the winners against Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham. No one has took their chances like Marcus Rashford. You play him down the middle, look how good he was against Chelsea. You give the guy opportunities and you get a hell of a footballer out of him. If the worst happens and De Gea doesn't sign, what goalkeeper would you like to see replace him? I like Farman and I like Oblak, and there's actually a lot of really good keepers out there. Whether or not they're on the level of De Gea, no, probably not. Oblak is, but I think there's some really good goalkeepers out there that you could get. It's not good, but it's not like the ultimate disaster if you're able to sign one of those other top 5 or 6 goalkeepers in the world. I don't think. I think more important is defence. Melodic T says, is there any possibility of Pogba still leaving the club, or has many of the issues been sorted now Jose has left? Feel like the team is so very much built around him, and to see him leave would be massively disappointing and a massive blow to the team. I haven't heard one way or another, but all I know is that he'd fell out with Jose, and the reason why he was trying to leave in the summer was because of Jose, and the only reason he didn't leave in the summer is because the club didn't get a bid in that they liked for him. The reason Barcelona bid for him because they knew was a chance that he would leave if they could agree a fee with United. They just offered us like a load of players they were trying to sell and about 50 quid, so it was never going to happen. And I think Jose would sanction the sale, and he also tried to sanction the sale of Tony Marshall, and he also tried to sanction the sale of Luke Shaw, and you think, fucking hell. Like, I always defend a manager, and I always think a manager needs time. It became very, very clear those last few games of Jose's reign that he wasn't going to turn this around, and it had gone too far. Hence why I was like, I think it's time for the guy to go. You'll never see me screaming Saka man or anything like that, but it was probably the point of no return for Jose when we did sack him. But the reasons why those players wanted to go was because they'd fell out with Jose, and you look back at that as a decision now and you go, fucking hell, he re-signed Fellaini and wanted to get rid of them free. There's no one in the world that would agree that that was a good move for the club going forward, and maybe that was another thing that played into the club's decision making in terms of why they wanted to get rid of the guy. Liam says, in a perfect world, where do you see this community / your channel being in 3 years, and what do I need to get there? I'd like this community to be over 1,000 people, and it relates to the next question from Jack. Any chance of doing a Patreon meetup or football match? I would like to do that regular, whether that's monthly or bi-monthly. I think that would be a brilliant thing to do, is to take this from the digital community that it is, maybe to have, you know, an hour or two on a match day. There's enough of us in here, there's 500 or so of us in here. If that got to like 1,000, I'm pretty sure the percentage of people that was actually at every match would be fantastic, and we could have like a real good little community of people that just go and watching United and have got like a similar sort of mindset about it. I would love that community element to happen, and that is things that I am trying to put into play. I've still not managed to speak to Webby because he's not very well at the moment, about whether we can go and do that at Hotel Football, or do I need to go and look somewhere else to do that. But that is on my to-do list. My to-do list is just massive. My own channel, I've been having discussions with lads lately around this. I quite like the content I do, and I was looking at the views that I get on the frequency of uploads that I make, and I do want to introduce a midweek video, which I'm going to call a magazine video, because every Wednesday there should be an upload midweek. Whether that's, yeah, we played Champions League, all right, well, Champions League, you're going to get a review and a vlog if it's a home game. If there's no Champions League game like this week, I did really want to do some sort of top 10 or a youth review or something along those lines. I've just not been able to do it this week because I've been busy. But I do want to get into the habit of having a warm down on a Monday, a midweek upload, whether that's a youth review, a history video, a shortlist, or something else like a top 10 of some sort, because I'm going to start doing some of those. We've written some down over there. So what we got, you guys let us know what you think about these particular ones and any better ones. So whatever happened to the rest of the class of 92? What happened to the class of 95? What happened to the class of 2003? These are all teams that won FA Youth Cups. Where the fuck's all the players? 5 players who played for United and City. I can't read the rest of that right. In top 10 United versus Liverpool incidents. That was one we was thinking of doing for this week. Those are sort of videos that I want to do. They're just different. They're sort of like live off forever. They sort of do views. They pick up little bits of views here and there. A lot of the stuff that I do, unfortunately, is instant reaction, or it's 24 hours relevant. So the previews, they stay alive for 24 hours. The match reviews, they stay alive for a few days at tops. If there's another game, a day, because you're then doing a preview for the next one and stuff. So I want to make more content that's a bit more longer lasting, that you can pick up at any point. So I think the top 10s are good for that. I think the shortlist can be good for that. I think the history stuff is definitely good for that. And I would love to reintroduce the Thursday Club. Ben's extremely busy at the minute. I mean, I think the last time I seen him, we went and watched a championship game at his house and had a pizza. But I would love to introduce the Thursday Club, and I would eventually love the Warm Down to Stay as a football podcast. The Thursday Club, maybe the Thursday Club isn't even on a Thursday. Maybe it's just the name of a podcast, that like Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast when it goes out on a Tuesday, on a Friday or a Thursday. Maybe that's just the name of a podcast. But I would like the Thursday Club to almost mimic a little bit of what Joe Rogan style does. I would like to talk to more people like that. I just don't know if my audience is receptive enough to that yet. I think some people are, but I think a large percentage of it isn't. And I can see that when I put certain videos on the channel. Everything United related is doing 20 to 30 to 40,000 views. Something different is doing like 5. So I don't think everyone's ready for that just yet. Once I get over 100k, 150k, probably won't give a fuck, and we'll just put it out there anyway. So I would like to think that that's where it could be in 3 years, where I do a regular Thursday Club. It's got its own vibe and in-jokes and all that sort of stuff. I think that'd be really cool. And I want this community, like Jack says, and to answer Jack's question, yes, I would like to do Pateron meetups regularly. And I do want to do some football stuff. Now, I've had quite a lot of ex-pros and ex-United players in here recently, and I'm trying to talk to them about what if we did some sort of 7-a-side, 5-a-side sort of football content. Maybe using the Studio 68 kit, maybe using the Studio 68 name. I had some really funny ideas for stuff that we could do with Alex Stepney, he was actually receptive to it, and I think that would have been fucking massively entertaining, so long as people understand I love Alex Stepney like he's a family member, but we would be taking the piss out of him, and I would like to do that with him. It's just whether or not I think the audience would get it. So we was going to try and do some like 5-a-side or 7-a-side content. We'd go to the pits and we'd play games, and every week the joke would be Alex Stepney turns up asking to play, and we tell him to sling it, and then you're like, fucking old man reckons he played with George Best. Obviously he did. And then maybe one week we see him in the goalkeeper kit and someone's like, get that off him. There's obviously It's obviously taking a piss out of him, but I don't know whether it'd be receptive enough from people that they understand that I fucking love Alex, and the only reason he's doing it is because he enjoys that sort of banter and that as well. But some of the players we've been talking about, like, can you imagine like a little five-a-side team with Wes Brown or Michael Clegg or Danny Webber or Quinton Fortune or even Robbie Savage or someone like that? Can you imagine them? Like a little old school ex-United Academy sort of five-a-side team. They're all in the 40s now, but turning up at the pits and just fucking bitch slapping teams. I think you could make some brilliant content with that. Whether that would live on my channel or it would become its own thing, like a different sort of hashtag United, I don't know. But I am having them sort of conversations, and I think that'd be really cool. So whether that would be football matches again, which we've done in the past, we did have a little bit of a meet up and played people in the summer. I do want to do more of that. That might come as the weather starts getting better and as things start to fall into line with what's going on, certainly with the office and the channel and things like that. And yeah, with the Bambino as well, because obviously I've got to do my fair share of looking after the baby. Babe says, couple of long couple of questions. Quite recently, the gap between the top 6 and everyone else has started to grow. There is also a gap between 7 and 12, and then basically anyone from 13 to 18 could get relegated. I'd say anyone from 13 to 20 could get relegated, but you know. The points it's going to take to win the league is increasing, I think. Maybe only currently, but it may shoot back down again in a few years. Are the lower teams getting worse and the top teams getting better on the whole? And following on from that, if you're able to shove in a great previous Premier League winning side, where do you think they would finish, given how the points distance in those years were vastly different and you didn't have the top 6 back then? Or even if you threw in this City team back to one of those seasons, do you think they'd win the league as footy has changed? There's always been an enormous gap between... There's always been a couple of leagues within a league, if that sort of makes sense. There's always been... for ages, it was the top 4, and that was United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal. That was the top 4 for ages, and Everton snuck in and broke that up, and then Manchester City came in and obliterated it. And recently Spurs' good form and good run of breaking into that top 4. They broke into it once, I think Peter Crouch and Harry Redknapp, I think. And then they've consistently found their way back into there again. That's expanded it to a top 6. Prior to that, in the 90s, was it because United was so good that we dominated so much and there wasn't really much of a top 6? You know, there was a handful of contenders in 93 when we won the league, then Leeds fell away. Blackburn emerged, I think they came second in 94, followed by winning it in 95. Arsenal was strong in there and thereabouts, Liverpool was strong in there and thereabouts, but it certainly didn't feel like it felt at the moment. And maybe that was because there wasn't the Champions League qualification, and maybe the Champions League qualification separated a little bit, and maybe that's why for the 2000s that top 4 sort of was a closed shop. Recently the Premier League money's gone up that fucking much that finishing bottom of the Premier League means you get more TV money than like winning most of the leagues around Europe. So the impact is that the Premier League has become stronger as a whole. The likes of Wolves, the likes of Leicester are good teams that would do very well if you just dunk them into one of the foreign leagues. Does it mean the Premier League's better as a whole? I don't think it's as vintage as it was, certainly when you look at the effect that we're having around Europe. I think it's quite close. I think Liverpool and City are currently better than everybody else. The fact that they're winning by crazy margins is admirable, I guess. I think the league is better as an overall, including some of the teams at the bottom. I think they would have done a bit better if they was in the league a few years ago. But the league's nowhere near as strong as it was for that period. United won 3 on a bounce, and just prior to that in the 2000s, that 2008 winning side. From 2007, I think, there was 3 semi-finalists from England. 2008, there was 3 semi-finalists from England. 2009, I think there was 3 semi-finalists. There wasn't in 2010, but you look at just how many semi-finalists and quarter-finalists there was from the Premier League in the Champions League. That's showing you that at the time the Premier League was very strong, and it was very strong in Europe as well. And I think that a little bit of the Chelsea coming into the Champions League, now you're in Europa League. United, Champions League, Europa League. I think that's probably blurred the lines a little bit. where you get the likes of Atletico Madrid and other smaller teams that maybe shouldn't really realistically been able to compete, but because they've been able to get consistent Champions League football, and Atletico Madrid are a great example because they've had a manager there for 8 years and half of the team's been there for like 6, 7, 8, 9 years. They've been able to have stability and consolidate on that and find the little bits that you've had. I think the Premier League sacks managers too quickly, far too quickly. And because they sack the managers far too quickly, there's just this constant turmoil and turnover, and nobody gets to really start to enact genuine change. So if you look at the two teams that are doing well at the moment, aside from Bournemouth, it's Liverpool and City that have had managers that have been there the longest. I think there's only Eddie Howe that comes close to them. Aside from that, everyone's just on this new manager cycle, and I don't think there's any coincidence to the fact that those are the teams that are at the top of the league, and arguably the reason why Bournemouth are pulling out the sort of results that they're pulling out. I think that's not totally but largely down to the fact of stability. What would the 99 team do to this league? I think they fucking absolutely annihilate it. Jordan Henderson coming up against Roy Keane, do me a fucking favour. Can you imagine any of these defences dealing with a Beckham and York combination for a cross? Jaap Stam, Peter Schmeichel in his prime? No, I don't think so. Ryan Giggs in his pomp? No, I don't think so. The fact that Wilf Zaha is considered a fucking great Premier League player at the moment? No, I don't think so. Like I said, I think the overall standard of the league is up, but yeah, no. And in 2008, no. That defence, Rio, Vidic, Evra, Wes Brown. I'm sorry. Yeah, Virgil van Dijk's a good player, but he's not on the level of Rio Ferdinand, or even close to the level of Rio Ferdinand. Michael Carrick and Paul Scholes with Owen Hargreaves alongside them. Yeah, no. And then obviously Ronaldo and a Pete Rooney at the time as well, with Tevez up front. Yeah, it's not even a contest. Opinions on that peach of a strike. It was shit, Jack. You know it was shit, but I admire you for sending in shit strikes. Connor, does Timbo realistically have a chance of making it at United, and do you know much about that 16-year-old we signed? No. Anyone that we've signed, generally I have no idea about at all. At all. What's going on with Nishan Burkhardt, says Nebby? Have any other players in the academy overtaken him? Can you realistically see him getting a chance / making it at United? Yeah, I can. And I'll tell you why. United have asked him to move aside for Greenwood in the 18s, and they've asked him to move aside for Greenwood a little bit now, I think, in the 23s. If he was at City, Nishan Burkhardt would be scoring with the regularity of Jesus, I think, because I think he's the fastest player in the team, in the club. And he's got a wonderful finish on him. His weaknesses, he's probably a little short. He's had to develop his game in terms of beating a man a little bit because of the way United have played him. But I think if you give him that number 9 and you're finding the likes of Raheem Sterling and Jesus, Sterling's not really, but Jesus is a similar sort of player to him, that you find him in and around the box and you're pulling checkbacks in for him, he's scoring them all day. He's an absolute top draw finisher and unbelievably fast. Play to his strengths and you're going to get a real player out of him. I don't think he'd probably make it at United now, because I think that Mason's overtook him, and essentially he's sandwiched in between Mason and Rashford. Unfortunate, but there's definitely a career in there for him. He will be an international footballer for Switzerland, and he probably will play in World Cups and Euros, and he'll probably end up somewhere, I imagine somewhere. I think if he went Germany, he'd kill it. I think if he went to Italy, he could probably play mid-table in Serie A. I think he'd probably do all right there. I think if he went to Spain, he would kill it with the space and time he would get on the ball there. Again, somewhere mid to upper table. Certainly not any like Atletico or Barcelona or anything like that, but I think there's a real player in there. I honestly think if I was him, I would be looking at probably like a Bournemouth. If someone like Josh King moves on, take that spot and probably be a good Premier League player. Jack says, if Marshall and Lingard are out, who do I think comes in and fits their roles? Personally, I'd play the matter of Fred in Lingard's position, and possibly Sanchez even out left, even though he's shite. I play a system where you play a similar one to what we played against Chelsea. You go with a diamond. You go with Sanchez down the middle instead of Mata, just for that combative nature a little bit more. You go with probably Lukaku and Rashford as your two, and you basically keep it the exact same, and you try and do what you did with Chelsea. You try and break quick, you try and press from the front and put them under pressure, and when you do that, you sneak a goal, and then you go compact again, and you just look to hit them on the break, because Marcus was fucking lethal and it was quality on it. I'm saying how long we've been recording. What's the difference tactically between a 4-4-2 and a diamond and a 4-2-2? Well, a 4-4-2 diamond, the midfield spreads out like a traditional midfield three. So you'll have your number 6 and you'll have the 2 number 8s at the side of him, and then the guy in the middle basically operates as a gap in between the forwards and the midfield. Juan Mata in let's say the role that he played against Chelsea, he's basically given the freedom to do what he wants on the ball, and he just fills in wherever he feels necessary off the ball. In a 4-2-2, there's literally 3 banks of 2, so you will have 2 6s rather than 1 6, which means this 6 might cover the left hand side of the pitch, this 6 might cover the right hand side of the pitch. The 2 8s, they fall off a little bit like the 2 8s would fall off in the 4-4-2 diamond. They probably go more of a right midfielder and a left midfielder in defence, and they come a little bit more central when you're on the ball. And the 2 strikers basically operate the exact same sort of way. It's just that the midfield has gone from being like this to like this, and there's tactical benefits for both, and there's tactical reasons you want to use both. The 4-2-2, I think, can be both more attacking and more defensive, the way you play it. Brazil had some serious talent in their 4-2-2s. They would play Kaká and Ronaldinho as the 2 sort of attacking 8s behind someone like a Rivaldo and a Ronaldo, or an Adriano and a Ronaldo, and because of that, you can have it mega attacking. If you want to go more defensive and more compact, you can play this sort of system against a team that I think is going to absolutely dominate you in midfield, and you just block it up essentially. So there's loads of tactical differences to it, but the same way that you could see Barcelona used to play 4-3-3 and Stoke used to play 4-3-3, just because it's a formation, there's still a million different iterations of how you play within that formation. Would I pay the 110 million release clause for Icardi? Been saying for years we need to buy him. I like him, but I think I would go with someone that's more reliable or reliant on pace. I think we're transitioning into a speedy team, and although I do see the need for someone that maybe is different as an option, I think 110 million, no, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably go with I don't know off the top of my head, but I probably wouldn't pay 110 million, because for me, I want to see Marshall and Rashford up front in this system together. I think that'd be brilliant. And then Mason. How far do I think Angel and Chong are from being genuine first team players? Also, there are other promising youth prospects you think could potentially come through. Now, I don't usually talk about under 16s. I sort of made that a bit of a rule, but this isn't public, so we'll talk about him. Shola Shota is the next big thing. Not quite Mason levels, but the guy is just a fucking goal machine. More in that aggressive sort of Andy Cole sort of goal scoring sort of frame than, you know, if you, it's lazy, but if you compare players to players, you would say Mason's got like that dribbling of Ronaldo, the step overs of Ronaldo, but he's got like a finishing shape of Robin van Persie. Well, Shola seems to be, he operates inside the box a little bit like Andy Cole, and then when he comes out of the box, I don't really know, maybe more like Rooney. He's got like a bit of an aggressive hand grenade feel to him at times. But Shola in the under 16s, you're going to see him in the under 18s next year. If they've started promoting some of the under 18s already to the 23s, which they have, you might also start to see Shola on the bench a little bit back end of the season, next few months. So I'm not too asked about giving you his name, but trust me, that fucking kid is unbelievable. And when I speak to some of the academy players, I ask them same sort of questions, and I'm like, right, talk to me, because I know they mix training together with different age groups to see where the lads really lie. And the people that I've been chatting to have been saying Shola's unbelievable. Would I be opposed to the Saudi takeover? Yeah, for a few reasons. But I was also opposed to the Glazer takeover, and unless I have a spare 4, 5, 6 billion, there's nothing you can do to stop it. I was on the protest marches, I sang Not For Sale. It did nothing. So I don't know how much being opposed and being vocally opposed to it does, apart from fucking annoy everyone. It doesn't do you any good. So I don't like any of the football clubs being used as a pawn and a marketing tool for countries in the Middle East. It doesn't feel fundamentally right to do that. Whether that's City, whether that's Paris, whether that's us, I don't like it. I mean, Roman Abramovich was, clearly a Russian oil baron, but he didn't use his club to promote Russia in any way, I don't think. So that would be something that you'd maybe want to see it done like. But I know that you see what happened with Paris. I don't want it to be like that at all, if that's the one. Any news on the director of football? Well, maybe. I thought the trail had gone cold on Paul Mitchell, and Little Bird is telling me there may have been a development. Paul Mitchell went for something to eat with Ollie the other night, allegedly. Now, I don't know whether that was because they both lived in Manchester previously. I don't know whether that was because they just went for dinner. I don't know if they've got an existing relationship. I don't know if that's because Paul Mitchell's becoming the director of football at Manchester United and Ollie's getting a full-time job. That was sort of what was implied to me, but I need to hear more of it and more people talking about things like that before I would say that's what I think's happening. But I'm keeping a very, very, very close eye on the movements of Paul Mitchell, and anytime I see his name, I'm taking heed of it. And the people I am talking to, because I am trying to find out whether Ollie's getting it or not, people I am talking to seem to be thinking that Ollie is going to get the job full time. The fact that we'd already agreed the compensation package with Mulder prior to him even coming as an interim, the fact his agent was there at the game the other day, I think it would be very likely that you're going to see Ollie given the job full time. Just my take on it, and if that is the case, I think we should announce it sooner rather than later. Because if there's players that you're looking to tie down to longer-term contracts, and there are players we are looking to tie down to longer-term contracts, from Herrera to De Gea, and there is talk of Marcus getting a new one. I think them lads knowing who the manager's going to be, whether that's publicly announced or internally announced, would be beneficial for them and show them, okay. Because imagine someone's like, listen, why don't you sign for another 5 years? Now, I know the last manager didn't like you, but the next one might. You'd be like, I'm doing that. But if you know the manager likes you, you know who the manager's going to be, it's a little bit of an easier decision in it. So, yeah, I hope it's Ollie, and I wouldn't mind seeing Paul Mitchell. It frustrates me watching Young cross the ball week in, week out like he's blindfolded. Valencia seems to be on the decline too. Do you think we signed someone this summer? Do you think Delot's ready to move into regular first team football? Like the conversation me and Dave had at the start of the season, Dave was adamant that by the end of the season Delot would be United's first choice fullback, and I said I don't think he's ready. I really don't think he's ready. Defensively he wasn't ready. His crossing is very good, but I don't think defensively he's ready. Shown it against Derby that his defensive wasn't ready. Maybe if we play it back three, that could be an option to play him on a more regular basis. It's not even. I don't even think Young's the best option. I actually do think that we'd probably be better playing Delot. But it's been more about how bad Valencia's been and how bad Young's been than how good Delot has been. Ethan Laird's better than all three of them. Or he's the best of the four of them. But he's had a little bit of a spell from injury at the moment, and even though he was name-checked by Ollie in a presser the other day, he hasn't travelled with the team on anything. He's not even played for the 18s for a while. So if Ethan gets back and gets fit, he's a kid that I think's got a brilliant future, and he's only 17, so I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity just yet to show what he can do in the first team. Maybe he needs a pre-season tour to go and show, but I think once everyone starts clapping eyes on him, kid's a leader, he's a fucking warrior, and he's very, very good as well. So experience he's not got. How he gets that, I don't know, between now and the end of the season. but he is one that I think could be massive for us going forward if we're not going to dip into the transfer market to sign him. Tino says, do you rehearse what you're going to say on camera? It seems very free-flowing but also very smooth. That's a pure fucking accident. No, with the shortlists, I generally write down a load of notes, certainly with the stats, like, he's done 19 of this in 14 games or something like that. I have to write them because I can't remember all of those off the top of my head. Dave actually does remember all of those. If you say something, he will pull something out of the fucking back of his brain for something, even though he's got a blind spot for shit players. I don't know what he likes about shit cult players. But no, I generally don't rehearse anything. With the United Review, we usually try, or we've lately been trying to find 3 talking points, and we kind of know what we want to say about those in general, but as you've seen, like, questions come up and you just have to kind of be ready for what you're going to say as and when they come up. Yeah, so no, I don't rehearse. I couldn't rehearse. I've tried. If you saw the fucking outtakes of the Jose Mourinho video, I gotta go because I've just got to go and do something for the Premier League, but I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. See you then. Righty, apologies there. I'm supposed to be on Premier League productions for this weekend's preview with Liverpool, and it was meant to have been earlier. They've just fucking delayed it. I don't know when they're coming back to me next. Anyway, no, I don't rehearse. Apart from like the shortlist where we do make notes and stuff and put them on the screen. Aside from that, it's off the cuff or from the old brain box. Thames, if we pursue Sancho like he's being rumoured, do you think there'll still be a route to the first team for Chong and Greenwood? And following on from that, how good would I say Chong is? I want to see YouTube highlights of him. No, I reckon that would probably clog up. They're the same age essentially, so I think that would definitely clog up what's going on. Is he as good as Sancho at the moment, Chong? No, I don't think so. I think Sancho's unbelievably good player. Anyone who's watched this channel for a long time know that I always thought Sancho was a fantastic footballer. Greenwood's different, and Greenwood's going to end up as a number 9. But if you compare just what they did at youth level, what Greenwood is doing absolutely destroys what Sancho was doing, and Sancho was in an excellent City's golden generation side, so it doesn't mean necessarily he's going to have a better career, but I think he's earned the opportunity. And for spending 70-80 million on the guy when we've potentially got one better than him ourselves, we just need to play him, essentially, for me. Josh says, when is Ashley Young going to be on a podcast? There's more chance of Ashley Young coming on than most, unfortunately, or fortunately. However way you want to throw that one together. There's people I know that know Ashley and know his family, and his dad was told when we did the 24-hour podcast the whole situation, and his dad pissed himself and said, I'll try and get him on. Where that went to, I don't know. But it's not out of the realms of possibility. I may have gone too far lately, to be fair. But yeah. But on a serious note, if you ever get close to having Berbatov on a podcast for an interview, can you let me know? 38 hours and I'll fly up. The one sports hero I'm yet to get a photo with. Jesus, mate, that is a long fucking trip to do that. Berbatov, I think, is another one that I think I'd love to get on, and I think it's probably possible to get on as well. I do know his agent, so that is one that I've tried to get on in the past. It's just something that's not easy to arrange. So as and when I try, he is someone I'm definitely going to try for. We'll see how it goes down. J Mills, out of these centre-backs, who do you think will most likely join in the summer? Upamecano, Koulibaly, Skriniar, Milito, Varane, other. I'm going to put Alderweireld as other and put him top of that list. Now, I heard this week that Upamecano was an option that United had to sign at 16, and we chose not to because of Axel and because of Roshan Williams. But he was someone that was, I believe, either training at United or did a trial at United or something like that, and we decided not to sign the guy because of what we already had in the academy. But which goes to show, doesn't it, like those games at that key development age. I think he went then to Leipzig and basically just played. I would like to see us go with Koulibaly if we don't get him. Varane, it's just a dream. Milito and Skriniar, both very good. I'd probably put Upamecano bottom of that list. But I would like somebody in, even if it's De Ligt. I like De Ligt. And Thames, I know he's not our problem, but do you think Mourinho will struggle to get another top job? Or do you think United didn't ruin his reputation, or top teams would still love him as a manager? When you look at the rinse and repeat of all of those dickhead managers, from Allardyce to Pardew, Warnock, and you see how they get jobs all the time, you're like, how are you still getting a job? A guy that's won Champions Leagues in a handful of places and league titles coming out of his arse, I don't think he will be tarnished too badly by what's happened at United, considering that he blew his lid majorly at Chelsea. You would have thought that might have stopped what he did going forward, but then obviously he picked up a great job at Inter Milan, and so I think there's still every chance that he picks up a top job elsewhere, you know, with what he did at Madrid and everything else that he's got in his favour. I am sure someone will take a punt on him. Who that is, I don't know. Maybe back to Italy, maybe back to Spain, maybe back to Chelsea. I wouldn't fucking rule going back to Chelsea out of the woods completely. He's been successful both times he's been there. I don't see why he couldn't be successful a third time going there as well, although it's quite soon after the last time he was there, isn't it? So no, I don't think he'll struggle to get another top job. I don't think he's the most wanted man in Europe, like he probably was to a certain extent when we signed him. But again, we signed him on the back of everything that happened with Eva Cañero and the complete collapse at Chelsea. So no, I think he's not going to struggle to get another job, but it remains to be seen where and how it is that he goes and gets that. But anyway, thank you guys for the continued support. I am going to be making some changes to the Patreon tiers to look forward to some extra videos. I think there's probably a really good comments below kind of video, basically just reading out fucking idiotic comments that I get, but let's keep that just for us, and we'll make that a Patreon only show. I'll make that a stretch goal for some tiers, obviously the Thursday Club, and that's things that I want to bring back. But you know, let's rearrange all of those. Let me know thoughts on top 10s and top 5s that you'd like to see me do as a midweek video. They'll be going out on public on YouTube. Anything else like that, bang it in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.